hold the team to 24 yards. What were you guys doing so well in a half like that? What do you even correct at halftime of a game like that?
Yeah, I mean, they came out and, we had a pretty clean plan. We knew what we wanted to get done. The only question was going to be kind of the quarterback situation, but I think we were pretty upfront with our guys of what it was going to be, and if it was this, it was going to be that. And our guys came out, they executed. Kind of were very business-like when we did it. I thought we showed good emotion in some of the stops, but we came out there and we tackled good and we executed and gave our team an opportunity to have a really good first half. Then we came up that second half, got it to a 3rd and 13. Obviously, you don't want to start that way with the surprise onside kick. Give them the 3rd and 13, and they get in a cluster. And listen, I love our guys, and I empower them. You want them to have, as you put your plans together and they line up in some of these condensed formations, there's really multiple different things that can happen based off who lines up where. And so, I do give a lot of credit to our players because they put a lot of time in and study and work, and I empower them, and it's part of us growing as a defense. But obviously coming out of that second half and giving up that one big play on 3rd and 13 ain't it. We gave up more plays in that yard than we did in the first half. But I'll continue to trust our guys, and continue to put them in those situations that, because everything isn't always going to be exactly how it's going to be said, because teams make adjustments and they have different plans. And so, I think our guys are learning that, and when you give them power to make decisions and you give them the right information, and all the great defense I've been a part of, you continue to grow that way. So I do trust our guys, and I know when we're in that situation again, we'll have a better outcome.
What's up?
Yeah, Jared first talked about after the game, not just getting Fabian a little bit back, but not just his presence on the field, but what he brings, leadership-wise. What did you see from the defense? Did that have a little more spark with his return, and how do you think he played?
Yeah, I think there's a bunch of guys, obviously we got Fabian back, Jared has been a little bit limited in, just practice, and he's starting to get back. Even having Amari Gaynor back, what that impacts in practice and the preparation going in games. I think it's all part of it, but Jared was really impactful on some of the plays. I mean, he didn't play a lot, but if you break it down on point production per play, he's as high as anybody we had.
Can you walk us through, you mentioned the touchdown play in the second half and empowering players to make decisions. I guess, what does that entail? Is it pattern matching stuff that's getting kind of
Yeah,
lost?
it's like, you really don't do it, run fits, pressures, what I mean? Now, there's sometimes you empower guys on certain pressures based off formations, splits, and things like that, or even, teams that check with me's, you give the linebackers some tools, because sometimes things happen really quickly and they need to have the information so they can make those decisions. But anytime you're playing coverage, splits matter, who's where matters, and there's, whether it's 3 over 3, 4 over 3, whether you bring a guy from inside or outside the box, whatever it all is. At the end of the day, everybody's got to see it the same, especially in the moment. And that was just something that we didn't see it the same, when that play happened. And it's a group of guys that I do trust, and we'll get it right.
Kirk?
How valuable are the games like that one where I think Jamie was the only guy who played more than 40 reps? You're able to kind of get younger guys in.
39, I think.
Yeah, a lot of guys banged up and I mean less than 100%, kind of getting them some rest, especially going into a rivalry game this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, you don't really think about it as rest as you're going through the game, as you see it as opportunity to get guys in the game. And sometimes you gotta, guys don't want to come out. I mean, you play and you practice. This is such a preparation sport. You train 6 days for one opportunity. You only get 12 guaranteed. And so, you want to make it where when you finally get to game day, like, your guys want those reps, you know what I mean? Because that's the work that you put in. You want to go out there and showcase what you've done individually and collectively. And so we're getting to that point. But it was good to get guys in at the end of the game, but we got to stop people when those guys get in the game.
It seems like that linebacker group, you've got a lot of guys that bring a lot of just preparation, intensity. It seems like a good group in terms of like their professional approach. Is Tatum as good at that kind of stuff as you've been around, in terms of just a guy who wants to be as good as he can be?
Yeah, I mean, I think Tatum brought something to that group, but you know, the guys that are playing right now, Kalen DeLoach, DJ Lundy, Brennan Gant, Mari's getting back. I mean, those are all guys who've been playing now for 3 years, you know, and they've been playing a long time. So, you know, they've been able to go through it and learn from their experiences while they've been here. And that's part of improvement. You go through things, whether it's success or fail, and you get better at things. Now, Tatum just had a lot of experience, he just wasn't here. And so when you add him into that group, and you know, he came from, you know, a league, he came here for a reason because he wanted that competition, he wanted that experience playing at a school like Florida State. And so we got his best when he got here because, you know, he had something to prove. And I think that's just his mindset. And again, I've said it before, he comes from one of the best high school programs in the country, and that shows out. And so to combine him with the guys that we had, I think that created that type of room.
Brendan? Jamie Robinson was obviously productive with tackles the other day, but it just seemed like from a speed standpoint, it might have been the fastest and most confident he's played all season. I guess, how do you evaluate the way he played? And was he playing at a higher speed than maybe he's been previously to an extent?
I don't think so. I think there's, you know, just certain times he got put in some situations that it was showcased, you know, and, you know, playing safety in our defense, you know, sometimes you've got roles that you do such a good job that the ball doesn't come to you. You know, I think, you know, I would think a lot of quarterbacks are aware of where he is because he showed the ability to go get the ball, you know, in the pass game. So, you know, I think sometimes when the ball isn't thrown your way, you know, that's a compliment, but it stays, you know, you got to stay on that because, you know, you don't want to create those opportunities. So, you know, I think Jamie had 3 picks during the week of practice, you know, just trying to get those things in that way. But, you know, we involve him a little bit more in the run fits and the pressures because he is a good player. We're trying to get him showcased and trying to make sure we put him in a position where he can make the plays that we know he's capable of. I thought he did a good job of that Saturday.
When you watch Miami this weekend, prepare for them, how much you take like from film, like, you know, the last 2 weeks, because they, you know, the last 2 weeks, 8 turnovers, no touchdowns. Their starting quarterback got hurt against Duke, was out last week. So how much you take from that film, and that, like, how much you watch from last year? How much you watch, like, what's the preparation for Miami this week look like from film side?
Yeah, well, with the change of staff and play calling, you know, a lot of the film goes towards this year. And some of it goes towards that staff and the play callers from past years. Anything that would have come from our game last year against them was purely personnel study, you know, just our guys against their guys. But from a scheme standpoint, it's all this year's film.
Brendan? Leonard Warner had a really big game, and his story is just someone who stuck around. And I think he entered the transfer portal, he stayed here at Florida State, battled through injuries. This story, that level of perseverance, was that?
It was great.
Coach to see?
Yeah, it was great. You know, we give out you know, defensive performance awards after games, and Leonard received it this week, and you know, just to see how far he's come. You know, he was a starting linebacker 3 years ago. We moved him to defensive end because we thought that would be the best. He went from a starter to a backup, and he got hurt, and you know, he's traveled the long road. But he bleeds garnet and gold, and this place means a lot to him. And to see him go out there and have success, you know, in an ACC game, you know, it was good for him. It's good for our defense, but you know, that's part of what football's so special. Guys like Leonard Warner, guys like CJ scoring that touchdown. I mean, those things, you know, those are team building moments, and you know, it was really happy for Leonard to have the success that he did on Saturday. Corey?
Adam, we hear about, you know, Coach Norvell talked about preparing as if Van Dyke's going to play. You have to, I guess, because you don't know. But what does that even entail? Because is their offense different when he's behind center as opposed to what Garcia is? And this week you didn't know if Sims was going to play, so I guess you're kind of used to this. Yeah. And when Sims doesn't play, does it feel like, well, I guess we just wasted some hours preparing for nothing? And yeah. So how do you do that? How do you communicate it to the players? This is what we expect. If he's playing, this is what we expect if the other player's playing.
Yeah, a bunch there, Corey. I mean,
sorry.
No, you're good. That was good. You know, I like how you said, isn't it for, like, if you put the work in and it doesn't show up, but like, that's our profession. You know, you could plan for this formation when this happens and it doesn't show up. And then you make a decision, all right, do we carry this over the next week or do we just do away with it? And, You know, that sometimes even when you install calls, you want to make sure that you're using those week to week so that kids understand how important it is to prepare, even though it's different that you're going to use it. But with the quarterbacks, you know, you always have to prepare for all of it. You know, last week was last week. This week is a little bit different. I don't say, some coordinators are very specific to personnel, and so the offense will change. Sometimes just the skill set of the player will change what the result of the plays look like. You know what I mean? Like the ball will go, some quarterbacks, you know, one-on-one throws, they have a certain relationship with receivers and the ball's gonna come out the hand. Some kids are really conservative. Some guys in the zone read game will constantly pull it. Some guys only pull in the red zone. Some guys, you know, if you give them one read, they'll go by the book. And so I think when we're preparing for different people, number one, you have to prepare for all of them, because if it happens, that's what you needed to prepare for. But in this case, you know, this week, you know, really they play three guys. If Van Dyke plays, like, we know who he is, but what is he this year with this offense and with this play caller? We know what 13 is with Garcia because he started last week. We know what the Brown kid 11 is because they use him in roles. So yes, I mean, you're gonna have, and then when you come to your players, we sit down on Tuesday morning and I'll go through every position. And these are the guys that are playing, these are the guys that are injured, this kid could be probable, and if he plays, this is how we're gonna treat this guy, this is how we're gonna treat that guy. And so I think you're very matter of fact, and you tell your players, listen, we don't control how it's gonna look, but if they show up, this is what it's gonna be. And so, because I don't think you ever wanna leave your players to speculate, right? Because we all go crazy. So I just tell them exactly what I think and what I know, and trust myself about the facts, and then give them that type of story.
We'll do two more, Ira.
Obviously, you don't want to end the game giving up points, but how valuable is that time for those young guys to get out there, and what did you see from some
It
of
would have been more valuable to get the stop.
Is there value though?
I mean, yes, I mean, people, you get better through success and failure, I know that's it, but yes, and you know, even to see a guy like Dante Anderson who lost containment on the last play of the game, and it wasn't just his wrongdoing that allowed the ball to get in the end zone on a scramble. We should have made that play, but you know, to see his frustration, like, what does that mean for Sunday's practice? What does that mean for his off season? What does that mean for his growth? You know what I mean? And it's different for different people. You know, if you fail and I fail doing the same thing, we may react differently. You know, success same way. So there is nothing like getting out on that field on a Saturday and be able to taste what that is. And so anytime we have those opportunities, you know, you want to take advantage of it, but you know, we never want to let them score, that's for sure.
Aslan?
Two things, Coach. The nature of this rivalry, and just the nature of this sport will humble anybody, but when you do see an offense that might not be operating at full efficiency as Miami is, does this give you guys the opportunity to dictate terms, maybe to an opponent? And I guess the nature of the rivalry will prevent you guys from being overconfident, but does it give you the opportunity to maybe dictate terms if you see an offense that's showing vulnerability?
I mean, that's our job, to make offenses vulnerable, you know, and listen, you know, right now, you know, this is one of the best rivalries in sports. You know, as a kid growing up, you know, these uniforms, when you think of college football, these are two of the uniforms you think about playing in. And now to have the opportunity to have an impact on what that result's gonna be on Saturday night is humbling, and it's inspiring. And you know, every game is important, but you know, this one obviously feels different because of what it is in the rivalry. You know, and we're still gonna prepare for whatever their offense has done over the last 7, 8, 9 weeks, and you know, with whoever's gonna play out there. And you know, I'm just gonna do the best to get this defense prepared to go play our best.
Last question, what candy is the Fuller family gonna give out tonight for Halloween?
Say that one more time, I didn't understand the question.
What kind of candy will the Fuller house be giving out for trick-or-treaters tonight?
Are you
We're
coming,
gonna-
are you coming,
I'm not
is this
gonna
for
lie.
you or for the regular?
He's scouting.
Are you trying to scout, is this a scouting report thing? Yeah, I mean, I text Corey, he's got that answer, so.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys.